All right, everyone, there was a fake news CNN town hall where they basically, groomed a bunch of Democrats to try to be their champion against Donald Trump. I don't think it's going to go too well based on how the town hall went. You remember when Bernie Sanders made the suggestion that, felons should be able to vote from their jail cells? Now, this isn't too out there an idea because for most of the nation's history, the idea was, for the most part, different classes of criminals, once restitution was made, once their time was served, it wasn't a problem. That's more of a recent advent. In fact, I believe the Clintons had a role, if I remember correctly, in stripping some groups of criminals of their voting rights. I think it might have been the Clintons. I might be totally wrong on that, but they're like the premier tough on crime family. Now Kamala Harris is trying to do the same, but now they asked her basically a question: should the Boston Marathon bomber be able to vote? Now, this is a little bit of a loaded question. Let's be honest about that, but she flubbed it. She probably should have pointed that and said, well, I think, certain classes of criminals are like fucking insane and stuff. No, they shouldn't vote, but we can have that conversation. Instead, she just said, let's have that conversation. Yeah, basically, felons should be able to vote. I don't know that the average American has the stomach for that basic idea. And my premise has been different. When Bernie Sanders weighed in on this, I pointed out, for certain groups of criminals, certain felons, I have no problem with that. Like fucking, you committed wire fraud or something. Okay, after a certain amount of time, is that really evidence of lunacy? Because the founders, literally, their litmus test was criminal lunacy. If a person was a violent enough criminal, they were classed as a form of lunatic. Lunatics can't vote. And so they lost that right, along with the right to bear arms and stuff, because they couldn't be trusted with it. This is why certain classes of extremely violent criminals, yes, it is technically under the auspices of the reasoning used by the founders at the time. The Second Amendment would not have applied to mass murder or something like that. However, when you get to the point where you're saying, yeah, someone who slaughtered dozens of people, yeah, I have no problem with them voting, I'm not sure that's going to be palatable. Buttigieg came in, and he weighs in on abortion. He's like, yeah, late-term abortion is fine. But the thing is, I think he has more in mind the Northam-style stuff. I don't have a problem with that either. Again, unpopular opinion, I know even with a lot of you who watch my material regularly, like you're subscribed, a lot of you are like Christian, or you're more on the right, maybe morally or something. I don't have a problem with people getting a third trimester abortion, because I weigh that against, the state coming in and basically enslaving a woman for 9 months out of her life, and I don't feel comfortable with that. That being said, though, again, clarifications should probably be made when you're talking about these things. The Democratic Party is embroiled in all sorts of problems specifically because of this issue, because Northam brought it up. Especially Northam, the guy with the blackface picture who refused to resign, has low enough approval that he probably doesn't get reelected, probably robs the Democrats of the governorship in Virginia, might lose them Virginia on a national level for voting purposes and for the presidency. Yeah, that Northam, the one that might literally rob your party of the next election just by being there. Yeah, Buttigieg seems to be good friends with him, I guess, on his ideological issues. That's going to go over well. Don't even fucking get me started about Klobuchar and her bullshit. Talking about more racism. Yes, there's systemic racism in the United States. It's a big problem. More reparations. It's a bunch of bullshit. And then Kamala weighs in. Again, she's talking about guns, and she's like, well, I'm going to give Congress 100 days to put on their big boy pants. She's trying to do that thing where she's like, I'm tough, motherfucker. I'm female, but I'm going to whip you into shape because I'm a tough mama. That's the sort of psychological act that she's pulling. By the way, Clinton tried and failed to do this. Warren's trying to do this. Less so like maybe a Gabbard or something like that. She comes in to try to be like, I'm the mama bear, I will defend mine, I'm going to give Congress 100 days to pass comprehensive gun control legislation, or I'm going to use my executive authority to do it. The problem is she's counting on her fans to be too fucking dumb to realize she can't do that. An executive order cannot override the Constitution. The courts would immediately issue an injunction, it would go before SCOTUS, and the Democrats would lose. And they'd get egg on their face, and they would, by the way, you Democrats, you've got to be more careful about this if you really want to keep the gun control you've already got, because every single time the court visits one of these cases, and you almost invariably lose, it sets a legal precedent. McDonald versus Chicago, DC versus Heller, they're being used to overturn gun control all over the country, which, by the way, I strongly agree with. I think we should get rid of pretty much all of the gun control in the country. Person's a violent lunatic, that's one thing. Otherwise, yeah, people should have the right to keep and bear arms. No, I don't care if they're 18 yet. No, I don't care if they say weird political shit on Facebook or something, like the state of New York apparently cares. I don't give a fuck. It was a free-for-all fucking town hall. And it's like, none of these people make sense. And then they start talking about college and they're like trying to one-up each other on free shit. Free shit, yes, again, it's not free. And by the way, when Warren or now Harris comes out and says, well, we want tuition forgiveness. You know, basically for those of us who have college debt, they want to write the debt off. I have over $20,000 in college debt. I would never vote for you just to say, oh, give me a fucking handout, because government is benevolent. It won't hurt the economy. It won't long-term hurt the chances of other, you know, potential students. It won't fuck anything up because government is capable of implementing such a strongly centralized program. No, they're not. That's bullshit. You know it's bullshit. It would be used to drive the cost up, embezzle money, and they'd funnel it towards other purposes. They would drive the educational attainment ranking down. I guarantee that it would. I don't want any part of it. No, I'd rather sit there and have to pay off that debt than go with a politician that wants to write it off. See, I've actually got skin in the game. I do have a bunch of debt. I don't want it written off. I wouldn't accept your fucking handout if you offered it to me, because the alternative, taking that is way worse than the alternative of having to make monthly payments. I know what it's like not to be able to make them. Guess what? I'd rather deal with that than deal with the alternative, which is a socialized educational system. I don't want any part of it. Fuck off. I don't want your fucking handouts. Elizabeth Warren and fucking Kamala Harris and all these morons there. They're counting on their fans being dumb, basically. Bernie Sanders is counting on his fans not digging into the numbers that his own fucking campaign provides with regards to my free shit. My free healthcare. It's gonna save $1.4 trillion over 10 years. No, it won't. Not unless you read the fine print. Oh yeah, it comes with a 4% business tax increase and a marginal tax rate of 60% on upper income earners. But don't worry, people, if we raise that bracket, we won't have to raise yours. You're special because you're, you know, middle class or working. Bullshit. They're going to be taxing everybody more because otherwise they would destroy the economy. And if you think that that's the end result that it would have anyway, even if implemented, you're crazy. Never going to happen. Free college for all. It's not free. There's nothing. The government can't give you anything that it didn't take in some productive form from another private citizen or entity. It's not possible. It doesn't produce. It simply redistributes. And if there is one middleman in the redistribution system, it loses efficiency. The more simplistic a tool is, the more efficient it tends to be. Now, you can refine it and use it for different purposes. You can make it overall easier, but you have to keep putting more energy and effort in. There are more parts. It breaks more often. That's simply the way that machines work. It's the same in politics. Keep it as simple as possible. The more bureaucracy, the worse. The more social programs, the worse. The more socialism, the more government control, the less constrained it is, the worse it can be. It becomes convoluted and stupid and wrong. And that's basically, I mean, and think, look at what these weirdos are saying. These are the cream of the crop of the Democratic Party that this party thinks can go up against Donald Trump. Biden is looking more sane to these people, I assure you, moment by moment. Now he's pushing back. He's so crazy, he pushed back the date, supposedly, to when he's going to jump in for a couple of weeks. He's fucking nuts. Biden's he's insane, and he's your front runner, and he hasn't even gotten in yet. Don't you think this is a fucking problem with the Democratic Party? Why don't you draft some people that have some common sense? You know, decently well-spoken, common sense, not obsessed with wedge issues that are going to piss off 90% of the fucking population like a Kamala Harris or an Elizabeth Warren. Preferably not with weird baggage like, oh yeah, I'm 1/1000th Native American. Oh yeah, I used to put people in jail for truancy, but I was smoking weed while listening to Tupac 2 years before he debuted. These people are nuts. They can't win an election. You think Kamala Harris is going to become the president of the United States? Dude, you're fucking way out in left field if you think that she's viable at this point. These people keep making stupid mistakes. Buttigieg looks like your most sane candidate. Buttigieg and a dude who wants to literally remove the border, namely Robert Francis Beto O'Fuckrourke. Those are your two sane candidates? And Joe Biden, a geriatric dude who, you know, gets a little bit too touchy-feely even with minors. This is the cream of the Democratic crop. Wow. Really gonna do a good job against Donald Trump in 2020 now, aren't they? That's about all. Peace out.